Saves the West. You can find him in the New York Post. You can find him everywhere, really. He's a prolific commentator. Douglas, thanks for joining us. Joseph is still with me. Sarah is joining me. Sarah Salip, Republican strategist. Douglas.
Yes.
There we go. You guys must be rubbing your hands together, right, with glee at the prospect, as Douglas was mentioning there. You know, a hard left takeover of New York. That's going to be a vote for one of you guys. Jody?
If that's what they want to do, that's what they're going to do. Zoran Mamdani, he's crazier than anybody realized. He wants to give $100 million to keep illegal aliens in New York, too. He wants to commit taxpayer funds to give them lawyers, transgender surgeries, and nobody's even talking about it because Cuomo is too close to the left, too, to really attack. He's Muslim. You saw what happened on 9/11. Did everybody forget? He's not attacking him on that. He's not attacking him on anything because at the end of the day, Cuomo knows he's doomed, and Zoran Mamdani is going to win that election. Elise Stefanik is probably very happy because she's going to be running for governor, and I think this is going to give her a huge way in.
Sarah, be careful what you wish for, though.
You know, after Eric Adams dropped out, everything's probably going to go to Curtis Sliwa. It's not going to go to Cuomo. It's a little too close to the edge. But that being said, Eric Adams did drop out way too late. And Zoran Mamdani, I think it's, 22 points above Cuomo right now.
Yes, and it's looking like he's got it. But Republicans have pulled out before as well. They have not run candidates in this race.
Right.
Could something like that happen, do you reckon?
Probably, but the thing is, they haven't done any polling since then. I think the last one with Quinnipiac was September 22nd. So we'll just have to wait and see. I really think Curtis Sliwa has a much better chance than people think he do.
Let's talk to Democratic strategist Nick Smith, who's joining us from New York, I believe. Hi, Nick. We heard from Douglas Murray there, the case for the prosecution, I think, against Mamdani. I take it that you don't agree, but if he's so great, why are the bigwigs of the Democrat Party still keeping him at arm's length?
It's a good question. So thanks for having me. I did hear Douglas and his point about, against the Assembly member. Here's how I look at this election. This is a change election. And there's a parallel here, which I don't think many people are talking about, between Assembly member Mamdani and, in fact, President Trump. Not on policy and everything, but if you think about the word change, when President Trump ran for his second term, he ran saying that prices for everything is too high, and the current administration, that is President Biden, Vice President Harris, in his words, weren't equipped to solve that problem. And on day one, he would get in the office and reduce prices. That didn't happen, but think about how effective that campaign message was. So when folks analyze the Assembly members, Mamdani's campaign and why he defeated former Governor Cuomo, just think about the situation in the country. And I think, in fact, he benefited from President Trump being in office because what we see is someone who is in the White House right now not fulfilling that promise of lowering prices. Gas is up, jobs are down. And so that's why I think Mamdani powered through that primary against a former governor who, by the way, is looking for a second act. So that's how I frame this election. And when it comes down to, well, the policies and what some label as extreme, here's some interesting factoids. First of all, Mamdani is talking about making buses in the city of New York free, which probably costs a couple of mil in a city budget of $116 billion. A state budget of about $200 billion, and of course, the federal scale as well. Go back a couple of mayors and talk about a Republican mayor, Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Guess what he did? He made ferries in the city free, particularly going to Staten Island, back and forth. I've never heard anyone on the right wing say that some of these things can't be done. There is a history of these things being done. And by the way, Mamdani, and I come from New York City government. I was first deputy public advocate, which is the #2 office in the city of New York. So I get some of these policies. Mamdani can have a free bus plan that is, in fact, phased in. And recall something else. Governor Hochul has endorsed Assemblyman Mamdani. So you mentioned some folks having some reticence to endorse, and I get it. He's a change candidate. He's younger. He's a different kind of candidate. And the so-called establishment may have some agita about the fact that someone near the assembly speaking to change beat a former governor.
It's quite a shopping list he's got there. You mentioned the free buses, but it's rent controls, socialised grocery stores. As Douglas Murray also he's made highly controversial comments about defunding the police. His comments about terrorism, are going to haunt him throughout his political career. He's carrying a lot of baggage. You can see why the Dems don't want anything to do with him. Yes, it's a changed candidate, but he's got a lot of baggage, right?
But the Dems have to pick those apart. So let's take defund, for example. I've never said defund police, but I absolutely get what it meant. It did not mean zero out police officers in the city.
That's not what voters hear, though, is it?
Well, let me finish. If you ask the average voter, what do they want? They're going to say they want police in our neighborhoods. What they don't want are police that are abusive, particularly to Black and brown voters, New Yorkers. I lived here during the height of the stop, question, and frisk problem, meaning that as a Black or brown person, I would go to 125th Street in Harlem, walk outside, and there is a very high chance with no crime being committed that I'm going to be stopped, questioned, and frisked for weapons in Harlem. That policy was a Giuliani policy, and there was an abject failure. So when he talks about defund, again, those are not my terms. What I can tell you is the logic of making sure we fund programs that prevent crime does make sense. And it's something that both the left and the right can agree on. For example, mental health programs. We all agree there's an issue with mental health on the subways, her subways, and all that stuff. So that's an example of how we can fund programs to help prevent crime.
It all sounding very expensive. It was going to be my next point. He's talked about raising taxes on people that earn over $1 million. That didn't seem to go down too well with the cast of The View today, who were looking a little bit nervous about that. I have to say, he's doing a raid on corporates, even if corporates aren't headquartered in New York. He somehow thinks he's going to be able to raid them just by having boots on the ground and workers in New York. He is going to spook investment in the city, and you're going to see people flock to Florida, right? They're not going to put up with that. And then he's going to be left with, all of these promises of free stuff and no way of paying for it.
I'm not sure that's true. If you look at when the President Trump left to Florida, and by the way, he's back, by the way, in New York. I don't think people know that. But when he said that, the rationale was exactly that: tax, tax, tax. Nobody wants to pay crazy taxes. And it is also true that the city of New York covers so many essential services that we, in fact, need to go further. And I don't think it's always necessarily taxing the rich on every single program, but there is a social contract that elected officials of both parties in this country agree to, which is we have to provide for the safety and well-being of our citizens. So, for example, if we talk about health care,
I'm going to stop you there because I'm going to bring in Joey. I mean, Joey, it does sound quite good, right? Free, nice healthcare, nice mental health provision, nicer cops. You can see why people are buying it, right?
I mean, nobody's actually buying it except the far, far left in New York. The rest of the country hears this and they understand it for what it is. These are crazy policies, and people are going to run. I don't know what he's talking about, that there's some social contract. People are going to run out of that city because nobody wants to be taxed through the nose. The taxes are already insane in New York. If you send them even higher, Miami's beautiful. The weather's a lot better. People are running. I'm sorry. They're not going to stick around for this.
But he is ahead in the polls. He is, he took that primary by storm. He has beaten, even without the Democratic machine behind him, he is running an insurgent campaign that is, gaining popular support. What have you guys got in your locker to counter that? Because, there's a younger generation of voters, and Nick, seems pretty enthusiastic about it all. What have you got to, what are you going to fight him on the issues?
The sad thing is, in New York, Republicans have given up. The Republicans have given up on many urban areas, and I think that's a big failure for our party. We cannot let these cities fall, and we've too often just let the far left take them over, and we're losing big time for that reason. I don't want to see our cities fall, and we've really allowed it to happen.